It's another week and another impressions of Remake Our Nanako. Technically Remake Our Life. Episode 4. This is my impressions on the episode. So much to kind of talk about. Really, I'm kind of going in the realm of theories at this point. There's a lot of stuff to really kind of dig into. But let's jump into it. So yeah, this episode opens up with our beach episode. Very brief moment of seeing our characters in some bathing suits and bikinis. And this was basically them doing a photo shoot out on the beach side. Several of the characters all in their outfits. And then obviously this leads to their second screening competition where they all play out their videos. And we get a really brief clip of the idea that, well, in one case, Keiko is kind of upset about the quality of what they've created. Essentially, she believes that the acting still feels scripted. So obviously she's not happy with it. We kind of knew that was going to be the case. I don't think no matter what, is she ever going to be happy with things, which is a good thing. She's a perfectionist. She's going to keep pushing forward, which again is a technically good thing, even though Kyoyo is like, no, it was good. Technically, just prior to this, they were having issues getting equipment, and they were trying to skirt around the scheduling, and that's when they met a girl named Keiko Tomioka, who obviously seen what they were doing and decided to keep her mouth quiet for them in order to kind of push them for a favor later. But following them showing their screening, they have another class or another group that shows their show, and obviously in this particular case, the acting was, from what they're saying, very incredible, very, very believable. And everybody's kind of shocked in the idea that this person that had this acting in it that was so incredible did not win. And here we go again. Here we go again, trying to question what Sensei's decisions was, and she has to kind of spell it out for them every single time. And her point to Nanako, who obviously is shooken up by this, she's seen obviously the difference of quality in her acting versus this other person's acting. And so she assumed, since they're better acting, obviously they should win, and they didn't. And this is when Sensei basically says, you know, that's not all what's about. This is back to what we talked about before, this idea that everybody is the creator, and just because the acting's incredible, it doesn't automatically bring up everything else in the actual film. And so her thing was an overall, and she kind of points this out to Nanako. But this seems to stick with Nanako, as she's obviously seeing that somebody else did a better job than she did, and it's shaken her up. They decided to have a little karaoke session, and even though she's reluctant, Kyoyo's like, you know, sing, you should sing. And she sings, and everybody's really kind of impressed by her ability, her projection, all this kind of stuff about her singing. And this is when Mrs. Stir the Nest comes up, Keiko comes up and says, you know, you're good at this. This is what you really want to do. You don't want to act. You're not putting your all into your acting. This is what you're putting your all into. And they're like, you know what, this is just kind of something that she's been working on the side. And Keiko kind of shoots back at Kuya like, you're not a teacher. Your job is not to teach her. Her talent is being wasted, and you're not basically putting enough effort and proper nurturing to the quality that she has. And you'll find out later that, you know, she's technically jealous of Nanako's singing. Like, she's got a great voice. She's beautiful, and yet she's squandering it. She's going for acting. She shouldn't be going for acting. She should be going for singing. And this argument obviously kind of breaks up the group a little bit as Nanako is kind of hiding away. And Eiko's kind of like, you know, I'm sorry, I'll quit the group. Obviously, I've caused a stir. She still believes what she said. It's just that she's kind of upset in the idea that she basically caused problems in the team. And on the side, Kyoya ends up going to the Fine Arts Club, and they're talking about a festival that's coming up. And that's when he runs into Keiko again, which is this girl that decided to not tell anybody about them getting the equipment. And Keiko is actually very interested in Kyoya. She actually wants him to become a part of her doujin group, which is called Hallucigenia Soft. And this group is apparently very popular in the doujin circles, and she wants him to become a part of her team. And he's like, you know, this is my chance to get back into what I dreamed about doing, which was these doujin games. But that would be, you know, he's had this chance to redo his schooling. Why would he go back into that? And so in ultimate, he's like, no, this is what I chose to do again. I'm going to focus on this rather than, you know, basically go the same path I did without the experience that I need in order to do it successfully. And then, of course, this turning her down is a little upsetting to her, but she's like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then we go back to basically with the material she leaves behind for him, he kind of realizes, oh yeah, I remember all these times that my, back in the future when I was, basically having to take these singers and having to adjust their voice just to sound good in my projects that we were doing. And then that's when it dawns on me, like, I can take what Nanako has done, alter it to show her what her potential is. And so, of course, he adjusts a little bit and plays it for her, and she's, of course, very excited about that. And he's like, I have options for you, and I think I have a plan, but you're going to have to do all the work, but I'm going to support you. And I think this is kind of implying that he wants to take her singing and put it into the videos they do. Because that's a big question at this point. It's like, well, this is this schooling that she's doing is for acting and stuff. How can she use her talent as a singer and still stay in the school? Because the big question mark is, if this corrected you and you do want to pursue singing, why would you be in this schooling for acting and stuff? You'd want to go do something else. So obviously they're going to take that and mold it into what they're doing currently. So yeah, my this is my thoughts on this episode. I think overall this is an excellent episode. Like I said, very Nanako focused. This is to kind of show her where she believed that she couldn't become a singer because she was kind of tone deaf, that she couldn't get the pitches right. She chose to give up this dream and focus on, well, acting. I'll do acting instead. And obviously having Keiko come in there and say, look, you're doing it wrong. You should nurture this and not just make it a side thing. This is what you really want to do. You can never beat those that are focused and determined in what they're doing. So if you want to be an actor and you're not fully focused on it, you're going to constantly be wiped on the floor by people who are actually, that's what they've always wanted to do, and that's what they've always focused on. So instead, focus on the one thing that you truly want to do. That way you're going to be the best because you're so determined for it. And that was definitely a solid piece in this particular episode. On the side, I last week when the episode aired, I kind of questioned to Chris. I'm like, we keep seeing this girl in the intro. We've never seen her in the show itself. I'm curious who she's going to be. And as this episode opened up and I seen her in the intro again, I'm like, I wonder if this girl is going to be the wild card in this whole scenario. I wonder if she's going to be the girl that maybe is the one that's doing this. Maybe she's somebody that Koya knew in the future, and she's the one that possibly is the magical thing that's creating this whole thing. Like, she's the one that's putting him back in time and watching from a distance as he redoes this. And in this scenario, in this episode, when it come up, I'm like, okay, now they're showing her. I guess that's answer there. But then I still kept with that theory. Like, what if she is presenting to him an option to go back into gaming and to give up the schooling to see what he does? Like, this is a challenge, or this is a test for him to see what he would do. And I'm going to stick to that going forward. I think that she's probably going to be the wild card in this whole scenario. She's the foreign thing, just like he is, that she wasn't there in that past, and that she's the one manipulating things. And this is a test. This episode, or this scenario with her introducing herself, is a test for him. The other interesting thing that came up in this episode is I'm really starting to question the whole Nanako thing at this point. Like I said in my previous impressions, I believe Nana, who is the theme song writer in the thing that the Platinum group, the Platinum generation that Koya was looking at the very beginning of the show, it had Nana, N-A. And obviously that seems to be short for Nanako. And Nanako is a singer. So I'm assuming that Platinum Generation's Nana is Nanako. So this brings up the big question. Why would he have to have pushed her so much to become a singer if she's already a singer in the future? Like, what is the thing that he has to push so much to drive her in this direction? And a thought came into my head, like a little light bulb popped up. I'm thinking to myself, what if this is one of those infinite loop things? Like, the idea, because with a lot of cases with creators and artists in Japan, they all have pen names. And it's not just writers. Like in Western culture, a lot of our writers have pen names. And granted, our musical artists have fake names as well. There's some actors that have fake name. But artists in general are definitely heavily altered names. And that's really heavily the case in Japan. So that makes me wonder if in the first episode, when we seen Koya in the future and he's dealing with all these problems and he's looking at Platinum Generation, what if there is a Koya in Platinum Generations working behind the scenes and he just doesn't know he exists because he's like again, a alternate pin name and nobody knows who he is. That would explain why all these things he's pushing these characters to in the past are already technically the case in the future. Koya is a theme song writer, but when he's in the back of the time, he's having to pull Nanako to become a singer. If he wasn't there, how would she get pulled into that scenario and become a theme song singer in the future? Akishino was about to give up on her dreams. Granted, like I said, it's partly because Koya outshined her and she thought that she couldn't do what Koya was doing, and that was driving her to give up. And then he had to pull her back into it. But what if she ran into somebody else that showed that sign and she gave up? Well, because possibly in the future there was a Koya there that pulled her back into becoming an artist. So this is my crazy theory, is the idea that we will find out at some point that Koya himself is the one that made Platinum Generation in the future. He just doesn't know who he was. And this is an infinite loop that sometimes these shows like to get into. They're difficult to get into because there is some inconsistency that causes a problem. Like, why would Koya never know about Koya in the future? Why would like the Japanese registry not have a problem with that? There's two Koyas. There's little problems that are in there. But I think that's going to be one of those little magic things. Like, well, how did he go in the past either? Well, there's magic. So magic makes it to where he never knew there was another Koya and the world didn't see this as a problem. But so that's my two big theories that's kind of come out of this episode. One being that Keiko Tomioka is possibly the puppet master, that she's the one that brought Koya in the past. She's the one watching from a distance. It was kind of planted in my head based on the idea that in the intro, it kind of shows her watching from a rooftop. So a little bit sinister there. But yeah, my other theory is that Koya is possibly... There's two future selves, and that's why Platinum Generation was what it was, even though is seemingly having to pull everybody in the direction that they need to go in order to become Platinum Generation. So yeah, overall, fantastic episode. I was a little bit miffed because before I watched the episode, I seen on Twitter, I think their account was posting shots from the manga, and the manga got to see a little bit more of Eiko when her top fell off, but understandable. That'll probably be for the Blu-ray. We'll have to wait for then, but... yeah, overall, excellent episode. Really did enjoy it. Really starting to have fun with these theories. Hope you guys enjoy my theories. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you thought of the episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Hit that like button if you can. And y'all take care.